the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Well, for those of you who are not accustomed to worshiping with the Lutherans, you have noticed that we stand up and we sit down a lot, we sing a lot, and also we kind of punctuate the calendar year with some other kind of events and things that we're marking. So, welcome to Transfiguration Sunday. It's Transfiguration Sunday today, and generally, in most Lutheran churches and other like Methodist, Presbyterian, Episcopal, and so on, even Catholic churches, they would be reading a story from either Matthew, Mark, or Luke. And it would be a story of Jesus taking a couple of disciples up to the top of the mountain and then being transfigured, all of a sudden, either his clothes or his whole self gleaming white in such a way that the disciples that were with him would be amazed. They would want to build some booths there, stay there forever. And then Jesus would say, no, I'm on my way to Jerusalem, where I will be killed and I will rise again 3 days later. So that's what you usually hear on Transfiguration Sunday. But at Redeemer, we've been following this other plan of readings that has us still in the book of John. And in the book of John, there is no story going up the mountain and being transfigured. So it's very interesting to me that that my husband is fiddling with the thermometer, the thermostat right now, and everybody's watching him because he's cuter than I am. And I think he's almost done. And then we could talk about transfiguration, which will be great and what I'm paid for. Thank you, David. So, I'll try to divert the attention back to me some way and somehow. What Carl Kuhn, who developed this list of writings, has decided is that we could think about Jesus asking us to see him in a new light with this new metaphor. So throughout the book of John, he's been saying, I am the bread of life. I am the living water. I am the light of the world. And now we get, I am the gate, and I am the good shepherd. So the invitation is to see me in a new light, see me as a shepherd. And Jesus as the good shepherd has been a favorite of Christians probably from the very beginning of Christianity. It seems to be a really comforting and useful way for us to see Jesus, especially if we need some leadership in our lives, and I think a lot of us probably do. If we crave some kind of protection against the harsh elements of this world. We know the parable of the lost sheep is in the book of Luke, 15th chapter. And we love thinking about how Jesus says, isn't it something when a shepherd will go after just one sheep that is lost among 100 and will not stop until that sheep has been found and is in the arms of the shepherd. In fact, we have a beautiful picture of that front and center at the highest point of this sanctuary here, for that very reason, I think. And as I've said many times, when I leave worship, you'll see me do it again today. I bow at the crack and I look up at that window and I say a little prayer to God about who is the lost sheep today, Lord, and find that person, please, and take them in your arms because they need you so. This shepherd has been, was a metaphor for leadership in the ancient Near East, in this region, for a long time. So a lot of the kings and other people of power would refer to themselves as shepherds. And the reason was that a shepherd was supposed to protect and provide. And that was the role of a king then, to protect and provide. Wouldn't that be lovely if that were the main leadership qualities of most that we encounter today, to protect and provide? And so you see in our scriptures and in our heritage as Christians, Moses, he was a shepherd for sheep. David was a shepherd for sheep. And most of the patriarchs, Abraham, Jacob, so on and so forth, they owned flocks of sheep. So they really were actual shepherds at the time. So here's Jesus saying, I am not just a shepherd, I am the good shepherd. So what is in this reading today is not really all of the comforting things about the good shepherd that we've been singing about so far and thinking about and looking at. This is Jesus's critique of power. This is where he's saying, there are others who will try to lead you, and they are not the voices to follow. So he names them, right? Thieves and bandits. The word for thief is used one more time in the book of John, and it's in relation to Judas. The word for bandit is used one more time in the Gospel of John, and it is referred to Barabbas. And the two differences there is that the thief is one who takes by stealth, by being sneaky. The bandit is one that takes by violence and by hurting. There's a third kind of leader that is being critiqued in this reading as well, and that is the hired hands. And what's wrong with a hired hand? A hired hand is only in it for the money. A hired hand is a transactional leader. I get something out of this, you get something out of this, and then I'm out of here. My heart's not here. My soul's not here. My calling is not with this work. The hired hand. So instead of being like a thief that sneaks in, or like a bandit that breaks in, or like a hired hand that gets paid to be in and among, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. What is the character of a good shepherd? Two main things. One is this knowing, this transparency that goes both ways. That Jesus says, I'm going to lay it all out for you so that you can see me. I have nothing to hide. And he knows us, the sheep, we're the sheep. He knows the sheep so well that he can lead them where he knows they need to go. And if their ears are on right, they can hear and they can follow. This knowing is what is the characteristic of the good shepherd and of the sheep who follow. There's a mutuality in this, recognizing the voice, responding, and also being suspicious of the other voices and not following them. There are so many scams about right now. Look at your phone, it's going to tell you you have unpaid tolls, right? And you got to click here and pay it. I haven't been on a tollway in weeks. How is it possible that I got to pay a toll? And any other number of scams that you might be facing day in and day out. So much of our leadership is transactional. Our leaders are in it for their own power, their own greed, their own glory. And if that dries up, then they're out of here. Central values seem to no longer hold. The value of knowing, the value of being transparent. Certain values, even of Christianity, they seem to be withering on the vine if it doesn't profit, if it doesn't get us further in power. I found this out really very sharply, and it broke my heart when the beginning of the war in Gaza began. And there were so many innocent children that were being bombed day after day after day and losing their lives. And I thought, surely, if we point out that children, innocent children, are dying by the thousands, certainly people will wake up and say, this has to stop, right? So we gathered a bunch of shoes and we put it in the cradle, and we have a banner that's still hanging back there that says, peace on earth, not war on children. And what did it matter? Apparently it didn't matter, because as of today now, all of the aid that was coming into Gaza has been halted, and the children will starve again. What? The second characteristic of Jesus is that Jesus says, I lay down my life. Now at Bible study on Monday, we're like, wait a second now. This laying down the life, means two different things, right? It could mean this thing where a shepherd out in the fields at that time would physically lay down in the gap of a sheep pen that was built out of stone and would be a semicircle. And then the shepherd would lay down at night so that no wolves could come through or whatever predators might come to harm the sheep. And he would lay down his life there. Does it mean that? Or does it mean really sacrificing his physical life, as we know will happen in Jerusalem and not too long from now? So we did what we often do at Bible study, which is, let's go to the Greek. We looked at the original language and we were surprised at what we saw. Lay down life means lay down soul. Psyche in the Greek, the soul. What does this mean? The essence of a person that encompasses all the emotions, the desires, the will. It isn't just the physical body, it is everything, the life force that animates the body, all of those feelings and affections, all of who he is. That's what Jesus, the Good Shepherd, is saying. I give you all of who I am, and I lay it right down in front of you. That's what Jesus does for us as the Good Shepherd. So why does he say he's both the Good Shepherd and the gate? That's a little confusing. The gate also has another meaning. Back in Psalm 118, it says there needs to be a gate into a righteous relationship with God. And so he's putting himself right in there. I am the gateway toward a right relationship with God. And they said, we don't get that. I don't understand that. They do understand the Good Shepherd. And so this morning now we've meditated on the shepherd a lot. What about the sheep? Let's think about sheep for a little bit, okay? Anybody here have close contact with sheep, herded sheep, grew up with sheep around them? One of them? A couple, kind of, sort of. Well, my sister did. She was on a research summer one time in her preparations to become a doctor, and they were doing a heart study on sheep. And so that summer, she told us about her encounters with sheep, and she said, "You would not believe how they smell." She was surprised what they smell like. They're also obstinate, and they don't seem to really want to do what you want them to do in any given moment. And I think that is what a lot of people think about sheep, right? Dumb, obstinate. I don't know if they know about the smell, but now you do. And then recently also there's been a lot of political talk, like online talk, about don't be a sheep, right? Meaning that you should think for yourselves, right? Have your own opinion, do your research. You hear a lot about that kind of stuff. So don't be a sheep. But that's not what this is about. Both of those think about the sheep as individual sheep, right? This year, about Jesus the Good Shepherd, knowing in both directions is about being part of a group, a flock, and being led well, heeding the right voice. So in this context, it's more than okay to be a sheep. The comfort of the Good Shepherd image is that it seems so unifying, right? Who's going to argue with Psalm 23? Who's going to find that stained glass window offensive? And yet, in the moments after Jesus spoke these words about protecting and leading those willing to follow, you see, sharp division at the end there. Some people said he's demon-possessed and out of his mind. Or he speaks like the Messiah, the Son of God, the promised and anointed one. Two very sharp, different ways of interpreting this. As we now move, we Lutherans, we start with Transfiguration Sunday. This is the kickoff to Lent in a way. So for 6 weeks, we'll be in the season of Lent. Really starts with Ash Wednesday, this Wednesday at 6:30. We're going to be following that tension, really. Following that tension, and it'll go stronger and stronger and stronger. And then Jesus will go to the cross and the tomb before showing the full power of God on Easter. after the days of death and destruction. So transfiguration. The suggestion to see Jesus as more than a miracle worker, more than a teacher, a leader worth following, who knows and protects and cares for us and shows us how to know and protect and care for each other. Who would lay down the entirety of who they are for us but Jesus? So you can have your Jesus bedazzled, shining white on top of the mountain in the other three Gospels. I like thinking about Jesus out in the fields, using his voice to lead us ever closer to the intended reality of God. The end of cruelty, of violence and exploitation, of transactional leadership with leaders who are only in it for personal gain. No, I want a Jesus to lead me every day to still waters and to every day restore my soul, because I need it as much as you do. So Jesus, lead us on the paths of righteousness into justice and peace and enough for all. Amen. Amen.
So